Hello, colleague.
Hi, Pierre.
I'm going to Berkeley in the fall for molecular and cellular biology. I live in Waterloo with Adriana Sarek, my colleague here and my
Oh my
best
gosh.
acquaintance.
All right, so I'm Adriana, and I also live in Waterloo,
Oh, and I'm
Ontario.
Marina, by the way.
I also live in Waterloo. I like black jelly beans.
What? I like colored jelly beans.
Though
That's
you
why,
always
no,
give
that's
me,
why we
yeah,
work so well. I always pick out the black jelly beans and you eat them.
exactly.
Amazing.
Gallium.
So, welcome to the first episode of Gallium. Today, we are going to be talking about our high school experience and looking back on everything that we've done, what will be changed, what have we learned, and we are hoping to pass on some of our wisdom.
We are currently high school seniors, and if you listen to our trailer, we talked like a bit about our universities, but we kind of want to start off this podcast with a little bit of a reminiscing session on high school
Yeah.
first. Just so you can like get to know more about our high school selves while we still are high schoolers.
Mhm.
And I guess the rest of the podcast will be more about uni.
Yeah. So, in anticipation for our high school topic for today, I made a survey and sent it to our many friends.
Yeah,
And got 11 responses. Yeah, with our 11 responses, we're gonna just look back on other people's opinions on high school and see if those matched with Adriana and I's experiences and see what we can add on to what people said. Yo, we just got a 12th response. We just asked a first general question of how much did you enjoy high school? Most people said 8 out of 10, 10 being perfect and amazing, and 1 being horrible and depressing. So 8 is not bad, actually. Adriana, what would you say your ranking of high school is and why?
Yeah, mine was definitely 8 as well, just because I think that high school is like what you put into it. And I think it turned out mostly good. Why it's not 10 out of 10 is just because there's often like a lot of random, those classes that you don't want to be in, or
Yeah.
It's good if you make it good.
Yeah, I also put it 8. I think that I put too much pressure on myself to be like super awesome right from the get-go, and I didn't let myself enjoy school as much as I should have in my first 2 years especially. And like I took things way too seriously. I don't even remember anything other than those like very small amount of fun times that I had in grade 9 and 10. I don't regret it because that taught me like going into university, that's something I'm going to keep in mind, that I will just remember the things that I enjoyed doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, here in Canada, like they only really look at grade 11 and 12. So me coming into high school, I was like, oh, I better like be a try-hard in grade 9 and 10. But it was only until grade 11 where I started like, okay, like I'm going to start a podcast. Whereas in grade 9 and 10, I was like, I'm just going to join whatever my friends are joining. And at that time, it was Cow Club. And I was like,
Cow Club. Oh my God. And for people listening, cow, yes, cow as in the animal that goes moo. There was a club for that. And we joined not knowing anything just because we saw a few other people going.
Yeah. So, and I definitely care too much about grades then. Like, I didn't know the admissions process in grade 9 and 10. Like, I didn't look into that. And then in grade 11, they were like, oh, like, we're only going to look at your last 2 years. And I was like, what was that for? Like, there's really no point to that.
Even American admissions, they do look at your entire, like your cumulative GPA, meaning since grade 9. But most schools, like if they see a constant improvement, they know that your most recent grades are what are most reflective of you at the time of your application. In grade 9 and 10, like I was so worried about university, and I was doing things I didn't like at all. I joined a few clubs that the only value I saw in it was that it would look good on an application. And that is the worst thing you could possibly do, because I look back on that time and I wasn't successful in any of those clubs because I didn't actually enjoy it. And that plays in also to why I chose 8 out of 10 too, because I feel like if I had wasted less time on those activities and even done nothing in those grades and just spent that time to learn more about what I wanted to do, I think that would have been a more useful use of my time.
Yeah, like I remember I had a really, really bad note-taking method as well. I
Me
just
too.
wasted so much time like making my notes pretty instead of actually just retaining the knowledge. Like I could have spent that time on so many other things, whether it just be like relaxing, spending time with friends and family.
I didn't know how to study at all in the beginning of high school, and that was something that really impacted my test scores. In grade 9 science, for example, like I didn't get good grades at all. Even though I enjoyed the material, I've always been like interested in STEM and science in general, but I would see all these people around me doing different methods of note taking. Like I would see Adriana making these pretty notes and mine are all scribbled in blue pen and I can't read anything. And then I would see people do Quizlet, so I put everything in Quizlet, and I would see people do memorization games, so I would try that. And then I was just doing so many things, and I didn't really know what worked for me, and I didn't put in the time to find what I liked best and what worked for me, just because I was so focused on what everyone else was doing. So make sure not to do that if you are in high school. Like dedicate just like your first year of grade 9 for each test. Try a new method, see what works for you, and don't pay attention to what other people are doing. Even until grade 12, I would have trouble looking at how other people studied. And then I would just remember, like, I made it this far. I've been proud of the grades I've been getting because I've been doing what works for me and they've been doing what works for them.
You shouldn't compare yourself to others in high school, and just like
Mm-hmm.
it's super easy to say, and then you still do it because that's what's just like the easiest thing to do because you're stuck with a group of people that have all the same classes as you and pretty much live the same school environment and life as you. And for me, it was the same thing. Like I would base my note taking off of like people on YouTube, just making these amazing
Yeah.
notes instead of now, like I just love to take things like practice tests, practice problems, and really just write on top of slides now. Like I just use, well, now I kind of do digital, but like I just use like a black pen. It's not pretty at all, but it's effective, right?
Yeah.
So
So the second question is, what was your favorite part of high school? I'm going to say right now, everyone said friends and almost everyone said extracurriculars. And I 100% agree. Even not even the extracurriculars, anything that was not the academic part of high school, I enjoyed the most. And as bad as that sounds, like Adriana and I, we love academics, we love learning, but when you look at high school, that's just not what you remember. You remember none of that stuff. That's why the first year of university is recap of high school material because no one pays attention to the academics in high school. Like, yeah, sure, you work really hard to get good grades, but you don't really remember any of that stuff other than the time that you spent with the people around you.
yeah, I definitely also said, I think I said Marina's presence. I'm not really sure.
Oh, you said Marina's presence.
There was a lot of times like grade 9 and 10 we were just messing ourselves over like a test. I don't even like remember what that test was anymore. Like I just remember how I felt.
Fun science fact, the best way that humans retain long term memory is when there is a strong emotion attached to an event. Fun fact.
Marketing.
Okay, so next we asked what was your least favorite part of high school. And a lot of people said different things. So, myself, I said the dumb mandatory courses that had no impact on my learning and were completely irrelevant. I
Yeah.
meant every word of this. I don't know if it's the same in the US, but there's a lot of mandatory courses in high school in Canada that I feel I could have gone without taking those courses and come out the exact same I am now or even better because I could have used that time for something else. I'm sure those things happen for a reason. Maybe I just needed some of those courses just to relax from my other really tiresome courses. I'm very motivation driven. I've never really been able to just sit down and work just for the sake of working. I've always needed to have a goal I'm working towards. So any class that didn't have a greater goal, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. I'd say like I can endure those things a little less now because I've definitely found that doing things I love is much more fulfilling than things that just get me like a grade or a number and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
There were parts in high school which I thought were boring or uneventful.
Yeah.
And I think it was just because I didn't choose to make the most of it. So there were some clubs that I joined where I didn't find as much value in that. For courses, even though like you might not enjoy what's in the textbook or the teaching style of the teacher, go online and maybe find a resource that presents the content to you better. Find a way that makes it more interesting. If something is difficult, maybe do a peer study session. Like for chemistry this year, It
Oh
was
yeah.
very condensed and a lot of content per day.
Ontario has changed the semester system in Ontario high schools to a quadmester system. And in a quadmester system, we are only given one course at a time for 2 weeks. So over the course of 2 months, we would have 2 weeks of one course, 2 weeks of another course, 2 weeks of one course, and then 2 weeks of the other course. And then that was that. That was a quadmester. So Adriana and I had chemistry together for our second quadmester. We did the entire AP chemistry course in 4 weeks, and it was a lot. And what we would do, we would call in the morning, go to the lectures together, our online lectures, and we'd have each other on call on the side, talking to each other if we ever ran into something we didn't understand. And then we would do all the homework together, go over all the slides again together, and then do the same thing the next day. And that was really, really tiring. But like we said before, what we remember from it isn't the material, even though we should probably remember the material, but
No, but
we just remember the time we spent together.
yeah, and like we made the material more interesting for each other. Like there was one point where I was like, I don't know how to do redox reactions and I don't feel the energy to do it. But Marina had a good method to do it and it involved colors and it was nice. And I still like remember that process now. But if I didn't like reach out to Marina and find that different resource because all the YouTube videos didn't work for me, I wouldn't find enjoyment in doing those redox reaction problems.
So someone said that their least favorite part of high school was the pressure to succeed. Even though getting into college was my goal, external pressure can be overwhelming. Yes, of course, setting goals for ourselves is something that's meant to be flexible. Goals should never be the same thing as you grow. Goals should grow as you grow. Goals should change as you change. That's the whole point of learning new things. If you're going to learn new things and not do anything with those new things you learn, then you're not being a productive member of the world. I can talk a little bit about my family right now. Both my parents are in computer science. My dad's a professor in computer science. My mom's a programmer. My brother just graduated and he's doing his PhD in computer science. Like everyone in my family was doing computer science. And that was all I knew when I was younger, before high school. It was only when I had learned about biology and learned about its applications that my goals started changing. I wanted to go into robotics and computer science and engineering. And it was not until I learned those new things that I changed my goal. So it was really hard for me to shift that goal because I also felt that external pressure from not only my family, but the people that knew my family and had also expected me to do the same as them. So yes, the pressure to succeed from other people is a lot worse than the pressure to succeed from yourself.
Like I often find like when I just do something without someone else telling me to do it, I do it a lot better
Yeah.
because it's not externally induced motivation, it's internally. And
It's
even
just
like,
like,
yeah.
sorry, it's just like when you're about to clean your room or do the dishes, and then as you're about to do it, your mom says, go clean your room, go do the dishes. And then
Yeah.
you're like, no, now I'm not doing this now. I'm tired. I don't want to do it. It's the same exact thing. Like,
Yes, this has become a very great philosophy podcast, but I love
yeah.
it. Solid advice that like I would have loved to receive if I was a high schooler,
Mhm.
which is our goal for this episode.
We just have a question that said, did your favorite teachers teach your favorite subjects? And the only reason I included that question is I have a hypothesis. My favorite subject was not biology, even though I'm going into biology. My favorite course was math. I asked this question because I feel like in high school, especially, your class experience depends a lot on whether the teacher meshes with your style of learning. So in my math class, I learned so well and I did really well in that class because I understood what the teacher was telling me and I didn't have trouble understanding the way the class was taught. How you vibe with your teacher is really important. And 75% of people said, okay, 75% is just 9 people, but 9 people said that, that their favorite teachers taught their favorite subjects. I don't know if it's going to be the same in university, honestly. I hope it's not. So now a little more COVID oriented. Even I'm so sick of hearing the
I
word
know,
COVID
yeah, I know.
pandemic. But you know what? It's happening. We have to acknowledge it. We're out of denial now, so we just have to move on. But we asked a question: what impact did the pandemic have on your perception of high school? And almost everyone said they wish they could spend this time with their friends, or they wanted to they wish that they had realized before COVID how important the social aspect of high school is. And this has been a pretty big theme throughout this episode, how important the social aspect is of high school.
I think that like a really good skill to develop is one, communication, and two, emotional intelligence. And a lot of people overlook that. But
Yes.
even I was like, oh, if I just get good grades, then I will be very successful. But it only helped me for one application and one decision in my life. But the friends I have right now and experiences I had, just developing those soft skills will help me a lot more in the long run.
In high school, sure, you learn a lot of coursework. Most of that stuff can be learned on your own. And I think the pandemic has been a pretty big proof of that you can learn these things on your own. You have the resources online. You can't search up friends though. Like you can search up like what is a dot product? What is a cross product?
Yeah.
Like what is a redox reaction? But
yeah, exactly.
You can't search up hello Adriana Sarek.
Yeah, I know.
Response.
Friends are so important, and it doesn't have to be a lot of friends. One friend,
maybe
teachers.
even two friends.
Maybe even two friends. Like, going on, like if someone presents you an opportunity, like one of our teachers was like, okay, guys, we're gonna go to Quebec. This is very, very close to when lockdown started, so we weren't able to go, but just jump on that opportunity.
Oh my gosh. You know what I just remembered?
What?
I regret this so much. Adriana and I went to our school's athletic banquet, and the next day we had an English test. So we were literally at our table and we pulled out our English notes and started studying. What even was that test about? It was like a summary of Romeo and Juliet or something like that. I don't even remember.
See, that's like, how insignificant that was.
Like how we said before, how emotions are what connect you to your memories. I don't know about you, but I don't feel anything when I'm writing a math test. I don't like feel super joyful when I'm writing about Romeo and Juliet. Like all your emotions come out when you're with other people. So that's what you end up remembering in high school, whether you like it or not. That's literally just science saying why the social aspect is the most important.
It's really easy to get caught up in the trap of just thinking about the upcoming test and the next test and the next test, because there's always going to be a next test. Yes, you'll need to hit that deadline and because it's school, but you're not going to have another time where your teacher offers you to go to Quebec. Take that opportunity, because we would prioritize school over the experience. And like we were literally at a banquet, you know, like.
So now we have any advice for incoming students. Someone said, don't try so hard to be popular because by grade 11, it does not matter at all. It's so much better to have a small, close group of friends who you actually connect with. Yes, I think Adriana and I can vouch for this. Like we have a pretty tight-knit group of friends, and because we've just put ourselves out there and done things all over the school that we've actually enjoyed, naturally people have started to know our names, recognize us around the halls. But through that process, we were able to find other people that elevated our high school experience.
You have no idea how much one or two friends can do for you. I would say if I didn't have my friends, including Marina, I wouldn't be who I am today, because I found someone who had the same goals and the same values as me, and we pushed each other to get past things like, I don't know, like a chemistry course, you know?
Yeah. So don't feel bad if you don't have those people around you right now. If you just keep following what you want to do, you are bound to find someone that pushes you to be your best.
And it's so really, really easy nowadays to join just a Discord server and just to reach out to someone and be like, hey, I like to do that thing too. Do you want to talk, or do you want to just schedule a Zoom call or something? It's just that simple. It can be someone that you can just talk to and communicate your goals to, and that can just do wonders to how you feel as a person, and maybe even inspire you to do a lot more than you ever thought you would.
And even someone said, your high school experience is based on how you approach certain scenarios and who you choose to talk to. Striving to be popular or well-liked is overrated. If you actually do things you like to do and just be a good human, you will naturally be well-liked and you'll achieve satisfaction in your high school career. And I think that just sums up everything that we've been wanting to say in a much better way.
Whoever said that, amazing.
Yeah, very good job. Next, this is for us, for me and Adriana, because we're going into university, and I don't know if you could tell by this podcast, but we don't really know what we're doing at all. And we, like, looking back on our grade 9 selves, I wish I knew so much more. Like, obviously all the time you wish you know everything.
Yeah.
But unfortunately that's not possible.
Like right
Like,
now, like we're in our grade 9 selves
yeah,
right now.
all over
And
again.
I know that we've definitely grown a lot. University is just a whole other beast, and I'm not really sure how I will change throughout that time. What we've learned from high school is to just do the things that we like to do, and
Yeah.
we will be separated. We're going to be 4,000 kilometers apart, like the
Sad.
little slogan we made, and we'll
Yeah.
have to make new friends. But now we know what kind of people.
No, I don't want that. I just want to have my one friend and do
Oh,
nothing. And
we now know a lot more about what we value and what we strive for. And also, we also know a lot more about ourselves.
yeah, that's very true.
Going into university, like, I feel so similar to how I felt in grade 9. Now I know what it's like to,
To be a newbie.
yeah, to be a newbie and to,
We've been through stage 1. We've already been through, like, here is the next phase of your life. That was at the beginning of high school. Now here's, like, this is like level 2. It's like you downloaded an app off the app store. You have no clue what you're expecting, but then you play level 1 and you pass level 1, and now you start to know at least what the game is about. You now
yeah,
know that if you hit the wall that you will die and you have to restart. So now I know in university I'm not going to hit the wall. It's like the same thing.
yeah.
We now have some warnings of things that we know we shouldn't do based on our experiences in high school. But again, in level 2, there's going to be a lot more challenges that we haven't faced before. So we're still going to be making mistakes, but life is literally just getting ready for the next level.
Our generation is unique in the past few years because now we kind of went through a pandemic as well, and we spent a lot of time by ourselves. For a lot of people, they've experienced more growth in those past year, like 2 years, than they probably would have ever experienced if they just kind of went through their everyday. Personally, I think that COVID and that time spent by myself has helped me like mature a lot more. Definitely that may have helped, but I'm not sure how it would play out if COVID didn't happen, and whether or not I'd feel more prepared for college or university.
The last question we have asked is, oh, all of this was leading up to this next question, which was, what is there any useful advice that you've heard or are expecting to use in university? And a lot of people have actually said a lot of different things, like do the work really hard, try and go out a lot, don't go out a lot. Like, there's a lot of
Yeah.
mixed. It's like going on Yelp and seeing
Yeah.
someone praise a shop and then also see below it like the worst review you've ever seen. It's
Yeah.
so hard to gauge what you're expecting based off of other people's experiences. But one important thing that I've seen that's been kind of a common theme throughout everything is time management. And that I have a hate relationship, not even a love-hate relationship with time management. And Adriana knows this. Like, there's some times that, like, Adriana texts me at like 8 p.m. like, what'd you get on this question? And I'm like, I haven't even started yet. I've been playing piano for 3 hours and lost track of time. Like, it's
No,
it's
but also
really
vice versa
unfortunate.
sometimes. Like, it's okay.
It's like sometimes I find joy in breaking the barriers I've even barriers that are fake, barriers I've set for myself. I find joy in breaking
Just break the barriers.
regardless of whether the barriers make sense. I just like breaking barriers. But I do. I think time management is very important. But then again, I try to remember any time I've set a super strict schedule for myself and have actually followed it. I have literally never followed a strict
Dude,
schedule I've set for
same.
myself because I always set unrealistic standards. I always expect too much from myself, or I undershoot and expect too little of myself, and then I'm behind by the time the testing. But
Yeah.
yeah, like that's for me, and I'm sure that like there's a lot of people that can't do this, and I can't follow a schedule, and there's some people that need to follow a schedule.
Yeah, I can relate to that. So now I just have a to-do list like with priorities that I need to do for the day, but I never schedule blocks of time to do it because I will not do it if a calendar app tells me to do it. And
Yeah.
I realize like I kind of found my quirk in that I have times where I'm very, very productive and there's
Quirky.
extended certain like times where I'm a lot more creative and I'm a lot more productive, and there's certain times where I'm better for just mundane tasks. Like that's my mental schedule, but I found like my rhythm to completing tasks is a lot different than my classmates. And I used to look at when my classmates would finish things and I'd be like, oh, I didn't finish, maybe I should do that. And that also just put a toll on me. So now I know like going into university, yeah, I'll have deadlines and I'll need to attend things at certain times. But for my personal study sessions, like I know when I feel best. And for me, that's often at nighttime.
That is all we have for
Oh,
today's
and
episode.
no, also like I just want to add something. Stop. There's a lot of responses here that are like work, 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 work. Okay,
That
no.
was me.
What I'm gonna do going in is make sure I study very, very smart by just getting the resources like slides, just reading over that, and then applying as much as possible.
Yeah, and next episode we're also going to talk about what we're expecting from university and
And
just like
yeah, we can even
address the
ask
misconception.
current college students for their advice because I would love to hear that.
So that was our very first episode, and we've reached the end. And I don't know about you guys, but it was kind of interesting for me to even hear Adriana's thoughts on our high school experience, even though we've pretty much had the same experience because we've been joint at the hip literally the whole time. But
Mm.
we've interpreted a lot of events differently. A lot of things went differently for both of us. And for people going into high school, even if you are in high school, like I hope this at least makes you reflect on your experience, makes you think a little bit more about what you've learned in high school, what you learned about yourself, and maybe about some of your goals in the long term.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed this, I hope you follow along. If you notice, like this is kind of more of a diary slash snapshot of what's happening currently in our lives. So if you follow along throughout our journey, so we're gonna release episodes on the 5th of each month. We will kind of grow as people and maybe even change our perspectives. And I'm so excited for what we're gonna do. And yeah, so we'll have our socials linked down below. So we have Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Yes. All right. See you later, everybody.
See ya.